on Marner. Obviously, you'd love to have superstars there, but I mean, as you guys just pointed out, they're the biggest team in the NHL. 6'2", 210 is the average size of a player on their team. Yeah, the biggest team in the NHL. And maybe it just feels a little bit more like that 2019 St. Louis team that didn't have a bunch of superstars. It just had a bunch of blue-collar guys who could go to work. Yes, there's still Matthews and Nylander. And
who are world superstars?
What's that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they are superstars, and
yes.
You're just wondering. So is it dump and chase for like 70%, 80% of the lineup, and then the Nylanders and the Matthews get to kind of east and west it up?
Listen, that's a great question, and I guess we're going to find out starting tonight. I mean, Craig Berube's been saying it's all about the process. I asked him what would success look like this year, and he says, I don't want to get caught up in going 2 rounds and all that. It's the process that matters, and doing the right things. He says, we do the right things and learn to win games the right way. Come April, come May, those are habits that just happen, and you don't have to worry about meltdowns in the 5th or 7th game or whatever. So, I think for him, he's all about getting guys to play to their limits and do what they're most comfortable doing. They add Roy, they add Joshua, right? Joshua, these are big-bodied guys. These are guys who will do, as you say, Kipper, some dump and chase and bang some bodies around. Their blue line stayed the same, and I think that's actually probably a pretty important thing. If there is a strength on this team, maybe you're going to say now, instead of saying it's the offensive top side of the Leafs, you might say it's the defense. And the goaltending, we'll see what happens with Joseph Wall, but clearly if Stolars and Wall can come out and do what they did last year and both be really formidable, the Leafs might win games in a different way than they've won in the past. There won't be as many track meets in 5-4 games, but there'll be a lot more 3-2 and 2-1 games, and that might suit, Craig Berube and his staff pretty well. So that's the storyline with the Leafs. We don't know what to expect because, very few times you see a superstar leave a team in this fashion, really still at the peak of his prime. So what they're going to look like without Mitch Marner, we find out starting tonight. And if you listen to what the Leafs are saying, they feel there's more depth there and maybe some more versatility up and down the lineup, and that's going to have to be their strength.
You're watching and listening to David Amber, studio host of the NHL on Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada as well. Doubleheader, of course. We go right into the Oilers and the Calgary Flames. So let's just start with what you think that the Connor McDavid scenario has been put to bed, at least for the next couple of years. What we think, just your overall thoughts on the ripple effect that it will have moving forward here for the Oilers, and then ultimately what you thought of the deal and how underwhelming you found it.
Well, I mean, I think it speaks volumes to what Connor McDavid's all about. I know you guys talked about this on your show. I mean, he wants to win. He has shown his commitment to win, and he has made a sacrifice financially to allow Stan Bowman and that management staff to fill the lineup up with his best players possible to surround him with, to give him the best opportunity to win. The window is right now, though, for the Edmonton Oilers. I had a chance to sit down with Stan Bowman, and I said, this has got to be tough. You got to be probably the one team who comes into the season and it's Stanley Cup or bust. No one's going to say it's a great year we got to the final or it's a great year we got to the conference final. If the Leafs go 2 rounds and get into the 3rd round, I think people in Toronto, a large group of the fans will say, okay, they're going in the right direction. When you've been to the Stanley Cup final and lost the last 2 years, it's Stanley Cup or bust. And I think Connor McDavid really wanted to, accentuate that point by saying, I'm ready to make the sacrifices. I'm going to bring everything I can. I see this group around me. I trust this group. And when you look at the group, what did Stan Bowman do, guys? He got rid of 7 players. One thing they all have in common, they're all in their 30s. The Skinners, the Canes, the Perrys, the Arvidssons. They made a point of saying we need to get a little bit younger. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive because last year they added all those guys. They added the Skinners and the Arvidssons. But I think they said, we ran out of gas a little bit. We looked a little bit slow by the final, and we needed to inject a little bit more young energy here. So I'm interested to see what the Oilers can do. Connor McDavid, the one thing I'll say from an Oilers fan standpoint, because there was a bit of chatter, will he leave? I just hope they appreciate, we're watching, you played Gretzky, you were in Gretzky's era, Kipper, and we're watching greatness here. You're watching an all-time great player, and sometimes I think that gets lost in the shuffle. And the fact that Edmonton can now say, well, whatever happens with McDavid in 3 years, we had the first 12 years of his career, in our home rink. They should just be incredibly appreciative and happy about that. And clearly the window is now for Edmonton, and let's see how the dust settles in the next 2 or 3 years. But right now, I still look at the Oilers as maybe the favorite to win the Stanley Cup, and I don't see why we wouldn't. And I know there's goaltending questions and other questions, but I still look at them and say, you have the two best players in the world, and you have a pretty good supporting cast, and they've been there. They've been right there on the precipice. Maybe this is the year.
It's also particularly salient, I think, to point out to people to appreciate it, not because he's going to leave, but because when you go into a season going, cup is all that matters, you don't want to not care about the season. There's 7 months of fun hockey ahead, watching these guys, and obviously elite special players. So yeah, the Oilers going to be fun to keep an eye on. Part of the doubleheader you have tonight, Toronto's and Montreal. Wanted to get your thoughts on the Canadians, who set the bar high, got into playoffs, and they're saying they're not running from it, that it's, they expect to be a playoff team, and that's where they're at. Are you concerned for them taking a step back, or do you like them to continue to build with some big additions in Dobson and Bolduc?
I love the moves they've made. I think Kent Hughes and that management group have done a wonderful job. And Marc Bergevin deserves some credit as well, because he stockpiled a lot of these draft picks that they've been able to parlay into some of these pieces, trading 2 of them to get Dobson. I'm incredibly excited to see Demidov, right? That to me, he's electric. And all I hear is he's a rink rat. He stayed in Montreal. He trained through the summer. All he cares about is working out and playing hockey. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be really fun to watch. You look at him and Lane Hudson, and they're 2 hockey nerds, essentially. So you have 2 of the most young, dynamic players in the league. You have Caulfield and Suzuki on the rise. Dobson, of course, looking to have sort of a bounce back season after a tough year on Long Island last year. There's so many good young pieces here, and they're led by a coach with so much energy and such a great way of managing these young players. Where they need to figure things out is defensively, right? They gave up the most 5-on-5 high danger scoring chances in the league last year. Sam Montembeault deserves a lot of credit. If it wasn't for him, the Habs probably wouldn't have made the playoffs. He was that good last year. So I'm excited. They kind of strike me as must-see TV, the Montreal Canadiens. Are they going to, have another 90-plus point season and be that team? I don't know. That Atlantic Division is incredibly tough. In fact, the sleeper pick I have, guys, I think we all did our predictions. I haven't actually seen the article come out on sportsnet.ca, but I'm sure I'll kind of turn some heads, because I predict the Ottawa Senators are going to win the Atlantic. I don't know. I'm all in on this Senators team right now.
Huge Allmark fan, eh?
Well, listen, Allmark is a great regular season goalie, and he struggled last year till December, and then he was the best goalie in the league. If you guys remember, from December to mid-January, he was amazing leading up to 4 Nations.
Yeah.
If they can get 82 games of Linus Ullmark, or a full year, he's not playing 82 games, but a full year of Linus Ullmark, that Vezina caliber guy that they had in Boston. They had a full year of Dylan Cousins. They added Jordan Spence, a stealth move, a guy who was playing 17 plus minutes in LA, a very stingy defensive team. And then Stützle, Sanderson, Kachuk. These are guys on the rise. These are young superstars. Jake Sanderson might be,